Hey guys, how's it going? Ghosty Rich here today, and today we're going to be taking out the radiator and replacing it on this Chevy S10 2003. First thing we're going to want to do is, of course, get rid of some of the plastic out of the way, and then we're going to want to probably try and see if we can do anything with this shroud, because we are going to have to slide this up here. And to do so, like I said, first we're going to get some of the stuff that's restricting it. So we're going to grab a 10 mil, we're going to pop out these 3 10 mils right here. Once you pull these bolts out, you're going to watch your AC lines, but you can now, should be able to lift this top half of this out. Now, this looks like it should have had some bolts, but unfortunately this vehicle it's older now. So, yeah, you might have some speed clips with bolts down here. If you do, remove them, or if they're push pins, remove the push pins, but this top half will come off. I can't show you that part because, like I said, unfortunately the last owner looks like he removed it on us. Once we get that out, as you can see, that's where those push pins or bolts would be. Put this off to the side, and you can see we have half the radiator, or well, actually the full radiator here exposed. You'll be able to reach in here easier. Once I get a flashlight, I'll show you where the peacock valve, or petcock, whatever you want to call it, valve is, so we can throw a ratchet on it, loosen it, and drain it. We are going to be removing our reservoir because we want to completely clean out everything. So just remember one major safety thing here. Coolant is very poisonous. Keep it away from all animals. Otherwise they will drink it and they will die. So just being straight up there. Next thing, make sure you get yourself a new radiator cap and a new thermostat. The thermostat will come with a new gasket for the new or for your existing housing. You really want to swap these two when doing a fluid swap. So first thing I'm going to do is just quickly pop out our ECU right here, which is just going to flip up. Should just be these bolts right here, and then that should pop out of the way. Once we get the ECU out and flipped up, then we're going to pop out the reservoir. Next thing we're going to do is take out this one off the reservoir. There'll be another one right here in the center, and there'll be one more right there in the corner. You just move the light over a little bit. Yeah, just right there. So take those 3 out, so that way we can lift this reservoir out of here. We're gonna have to slide these hoses off, but after we get that far, then we can at least drain out the reservoir, and then we can start getting that cleaned out. We want to take off our overflow. It's just got a 1/4 clamp on it, so just loosen it enough and slip it off. Keep it nice and high, and then after those bolts are out, we'll take out that whole reservoir. So right there, if you're looking at the top of the engine, right above the alternator, we need to shoot penetration fluid on there. Those bolts are pretty rusty. And trust me, you might get a little bit on your belt, but the squeakiness will go away pretty quick. Very, very important though, you soak these. It's gonna be fuzzy. Let's see if I can get it to, there we go. It's focused down there. So see how it's backed out now? Perfect. Let it drain into the bucket. It's just going to continue. From here, squeeze your tubes as it's open. And what this will do is if there's any fluid in here, it's going to help remove it. Now I'm going to be removing and replacing these rad hoses because they're old, very old. You can tell that they've never been replaced, and it'd be a really good idea to swap them out. So for doing that, we're going to be removing the intake. This air box should have a couple mounting screws on the front. If you take a look at it, it should have those 2 and that one in the back, so 3 in total. The thing is this one only had 1. So it's going to be different than almost everyone else's because they'll probably have a front support. This one did not have that front support. If yours just has this back one, take that 1 bolt out. If yours has the 2, remove those. Literally loosen the clamp and take the box out. From here, I would go ahead, take your MAF off, your MAF plug, take this plug off. After you do that, there's a grommet right here. We're just gonna hand loosen this. Keep going, and this should come right off of here. And there should be a couple hoses on the back here, slide them off. Yeah, see, just like that. And we're just gonna come around here and lift that off the throttle body. We'll probably end up cleaning that too because holy smokes, there's a lot of carbon in that throttle body. Open this up and show you how she is. Bring the light over a little bit if you could for me, please. She's a little dirty in there. So definitely a toothbrush and some throttle body cleaner. Right here, for us, this is a number 8. If your clamps are old, it might be squeeze clamps, who knows. Everyone has probably changed their clamps since 2003. If they haven't, then they're probably really old and you really, really want to replace them. So take that, do this, come over to right under your throttle body, or your throttle cables right here, and you can move these around, get in there. Go ahead and get on that clamp and loosen that one if you're going to remove the hose completely to replace it. If you're not, leave that side. Just go ahead and pop this one out. You could probably not pull out your intake if you don't want to. I'm just doing it because you really want room. You can see that's the fan, the radiator fan, and I'm loosening the hose on the water pump side. For me, the reason why I do it on the water pump side is this is the best way to drain most of the fluid out. If you pop the other side, there's a lot of fluid that remains in this hose. So you might as well just pop this side of it and then remove this hose completely. And again, if you're replacing the radiator, it's a good time to replace the hoses. So just get it off of there. Again, an 8mm, and then slide that out. 18-inch box wrench on these two, on this side. Go ahead, remove them. Now that side, over here, these ones are bigger. I want to say they're about 1 inch, but I don't have the big guy for that one, so I'm just going to use a crescent wrench. And yeah, just remove these. A little bit of tranny fluid's probably going to come out. If you want, you can cap the ends, but yeah, that's what you got to do. Pop these out because these are for your tranny cooler side. After you've loosened all of these, like I said, 2 with a crescent wrench. One of them I even had to give a love tap with a mallet just to, and it's always down to get them out, by the way. So that side, push down. This side, push down, just so you know, because it is reverse. If you start trying to go that way to loosen or something, you're gonna totally mess it up. Anyways, let's pull it out. Just grab it and lift. Literally just give it a yank. Perfect. They just sit on a grommet, so just pop it out and lay it on its back so that way fluid doesn't come out. So right here, this gooseneck piece, which you can barely see, has these bolts in there. You're gonna pop them out. This is how you change your thermostat. If you're going this far, you should do your thermostat. I'm gonna warn you though, these bolts are super easy to snap. It'll be sitting in there this way. Literally soak this thing in penetration fluid, and then after you do that, leave it there for probably 15-20 minutes before attempting these bolts. And the best thing you can do is do it by hand. Do not try and hit it with a mallet or something, because these bolts will snap, and then it's a little bit more fun. We had one snap on this side. This one came out on this side, thank gosh, because this one's actually easier to drill or to extract the bolt than, of course, the inside one. So now that this is out, we can lift this off. And then right there is your thermostat, in which you can just pull out with your hands, or, yeah, which this one, well, probably isn't too bad, but we're still gonna replace it because we really don't know the last time this one was changed. So either way, once this is out, you can even look inside the motor there with a flashlight and inspect the top end of the head where the thermostat went in. This is the thermostat number for this vehicle. All you're gonna do is grab it, and pretty self-explanatory, but I'll show you anyway. Grab it like this, with this aiming up, just like when you pulled it out. Put this in and make sure it sits in the groove. Work the gasket in to the groove, so it sits in there just like that. Once it's sitting in the groove, we're going to put our housing back on and then put it up. If you've noticed a buildup on here, pull this out or have the old one in here and clean it up a little bit with a razor knife, so that way this is nice and smooth. You just don't want to put any deep scoring in it. So basically we're just making sure this is nice and clean, so that way it'll sandwich and seal against the thermostat gasket. Otherwise you're going to have a leaky housing, which will suck. When you go to put these 2 bolts back in to seal up the thermostat housing, put them to 15 to 20 foot-pounds. Online it varies quite a bit, so if you really want to, just go to 20 and call it a day. So as you can see, the new petcock valve on here has a one that you can open with your hand and close with your hand, as you can see. So just tighten that up. For right now, these little caps, you can technically just pop them out
right now while this is out of here, since it might be a little bit more troublesome once it's in the vehicle. So pop out all these little plastic caps. You can see it's going to tell you right here, warning, strip threads void the warranty, so don't strip them. And then pop out those 2 plastic caps, pick it up and slide these into the 2 rubber grommets. Make sure that these did not come out with your previous rad. You'll see them down here. You can see if that's a big open hole, not that little small hole, that means that that big fat black grommet is probably sitting on the old rad. Make sure you just press it back into the frame. That's where it sits. Lift the new one in and just squish it into the grommets. So if you want to, we're gonna put those in on the new rad. We're gonna put a little bit of thread sealant on. It's basically like liquid, if you could imagine thread tape. All you do is you put it on like this, and when you do that, seal up your container, put it over here, try and line it up the best you can, and if the threads catch, do not continue, back it out and try another angle. The reason why is because if you strip it, again, a lot of companies will not cover you under warranty. So go ahead and tighten that up, and when you put it in nice, but do not go ham, as one would call it. Because if you go crazy on this, you could strip it out of the plastic, and then you need a new one. Once you've gone ahead, made sure these are all nice and tight, make sure it's sitting in the grommets. We already know this is gonna sit back here once she's tightened up. These are just sitting, this is sitting just a little awkward right now because of the fact that it's got those tight tranny lines on. The next thing that we need to do is put our hoses in. So again, this one, we already know how it weaves, just comes down and through here on the thermostat housing and goes on right here. And look, it helps push it back. And then the other one down here, we'll slip that down there and put it just back in, just how it was. And again, if you want this, this is the part number for this one right here. Let's see if it'll focus. Focus, focus, focus. There we go. If you come in from the bottom here, you'll be able to see that hose clamp bolt right there. That's where we tightened up our hose clamp on the bottom, just in case you replace the hose. The rest of them, you're just going to tighten them up once again at the very top on the rad, which you'll do once everything is sitting like it should. As you can see, clamp right there, clamp right here, clamps done up here. That's how the hoses ran. From right here, you can take this small little guy, put that ring back on, tighten it on here, and the last thing to do is put our main support back on. We put the 3 bolts back in. As you can see, when you're putting this in, just make sure you squeeze your rad all the way again so it's between those 2 metal things. You'll see it back there. It should line into the grooves. So as you're squeezing it back, put your 3 bolts in. This, believe it or not, holds it right there so it won't move. That's how this system works. And then from here, we can technically start filling this bad boy with coolant. Just make sure that new peacock valve, if you're looking down there, make sure it's all the way closed. I mean, you would know. I made sure it was closed before we even put the rad in. And then from here, this is tight. We made sure all 4 clamp bolts are tight. Thermostat one's tight, as well as the 2 bolts on the thermostat. For me personally, I'm going to quickly clean up this throttle body because this throttle body needs some cleaning. And then I'm going to slap everything back together. One sec. So, you're going to clean your throttle body. Just go ahead and shoot it in here. Get it started. You want to get a little bit of a puddle going on. Then you go ahead and take a rag and start rubbing around. When you start doing that, before I start shooting any more in here, you open it up, and as you're opening it, go ahead and just rub all that carbon off. You can see there's some even on this plate right here. So we're going to be rubbing that off, and look at how much is already coming off. Then you just take a little bit more. Shoot it in that idler area there. Just trying to hold that can. And look how much shinier we are getting. And this is going to give us better idling, give us better everything. And again, the stuff that you can't reach with your hand in these clean flow rags, you can go ahead and grab a toothbrush and go ahead and start scrubbing on the inside of here with a toothbrush, like in the openings where your fingers won't fit. So definitely, if you can, replace this ring. As you can see, this one's just falling apart. We're gonna get a new one. We just don't have one here today. Go over here, on an angle, again, on an angle, line that clip up. It lines up right here and right here on these teeth. You'll know when you get it on there proper, and then you'll squish down on here. You just have to line up that stud after you get it on. Gotten that hand tight, you can always inspect it. Just make sure it's seated on the throttle body there, but she looks good to me. Now you can go ahead and run these wires back through this grommet. If it came off on you, it just goes on here like so. This one comes up and plugs into right here, and this one goes right here. Now let's go get our intake box and slide it on. Vacuum line, go ahead, take it, squeeze it back onto here. Once your plugs are in, grab your intake box, holding it just like so. I'm gonna squeeze it a little bit, just right in here. Now, if you've actually got those mounts, you can go ahead and use them. With me, all I've got is this one right here that's left. Previous owner decided that it no longer needed any of the other mounting system, which is all right. And then, yeah, if you've got the nut that goes on here, go ahead and put your nut back on. From here, you can distinguish if you need to get a new air filter, which this one will get a new air filter when it gets a new ring. So definitely get this. If you haven't, it's a good time to do it. And just come in here, line it up so it's aligned on the gasket. You don't want to pinch the gasket the wrong way, so you always make sure that this is seated first. And if you want to, as you're lining that up, go ahead and start to line this portion up. That, you can see where it goes. This is going to go right in and line up right there. Just like that. See how it's between here? So if you wanted to, you can even go ahead, tighten this up, and then we'll put the 4 bolts in. We put a bottle and a half in, as you can see, of some Prestone here. This is already 50-50, so we don't have to add water to it. We've gone ahead, like I said, put a bottle and a half in. We were up pretty high. It's down again, but that's okay. We're gonna top that up as we go. And again, it's gonna go down as we get the air bubbles out. So, couple things to remember when you're doing this. Squeeze these. The reason why, as you squeeze these, it's gonna move air bubbles up and out, and it'll bring them up over here, pop up right here, and then the fluid level will go down, you'll add some. When you go to start your vehicle, turn your heater core or your heating system in there, the full heat, and turn it on full blast when you start it. That way it tries to open up the heater core, so that way we get fluid moving that way too. Those are 2 more hoses if you wanted to. You could replace pretty easy. Just take the 2 off the block right there, and then the 2 off the motor right here, and replace them if you'd like to. All right, let's go ahead, start this, and start burping it so that way we can get some air bubbles out. When you first start it, if you clean the throttle body and you go to start it, it might be a little lazy to start. Don't worry, that's normal. It's just it burning off the throttle body cleaner. Either way, with the radiator, once you start it and it's topped up like so, what you're gonna do is literally just leave it. After you've cranked the heat again on the vehicle and you've left the heat at full blast, full heat, leave it until the vehicle gets to halfway. Once the thermostat reaches halfway, it'll open up into the block. This fluid level should go down. When it does, top it up. And then from there, let it probably idle there for about 2 or 3 minutes, 4 minutes, whatever you want to do. After that, cap it off, go for a drive, and just make sure your reservoir has fluid in it as well. What's going to happen is this will probably drop down after a drive
I'd probably check after a quick boot around town, and then top it off, and then over the next little while it is going to go up. It might go up or down a little bit. That's normal. Let it do its thing. Anyways, that is how you quickly change the radiator on this vehicle. Thanks again for watching. Press like if it helped you out, and subscribe for more.